What's the haps? I'm John, aka Meroka, and welcome to Spiel. We're here in Onyx Clover Tier 3, which is Jellies. And we're going to start out in a compound because I am a sucker for punishment, I guess. So here come the minis. Well, not yet, clearly, but there you go. I will gloss over any issues of Spiral Knight's news and any pretense that there might be any, because there really isn't any. There was a little bit of downtime last week, I guess, if that's news. A lot of speculation that might have been a thing. It turned out that was not a thing. That was literally just downtime. So it's not even news that warrants my doing a jingle for you, so I'm going to skip the jingle. Here's the minis. Oh god. Here we go. So let us gloss right over that and into some other things. Things to note is I linked this one to my my Patreon supporters a few days ago, but I shall put this out here for anybody else who cares to be interested. Just in the aim of getting a little bit more pocket money on the side that I could reinvest into some cool new toys to make my videos even better, which is the ultimate goal of my making money at this point in my life. I have opened up an Etsy store selling laser-etched glassware. I've mentioned on a couple of occasions in the past about a little place just down the road from me called the Fab Lab, the Fabrication Laboratory, where they have laser engravers and cutters and whatnots and lots of cool toys and stuff. And part of that deal is you are allowed to use it for commercial use if you pay a nominal fee. So I am going to be in the business of manufacturing basically laser engraved glassware. So if you want any glasses to drink your whiskies or OJs or whatever's out of in a fancy geeky glass, I'll be doing some designs. I've also got it set up the way Etsy works is you can also request a design, so if you got a thing that you'd like to see, I could do that as well. I haven't actually manufactured any of them yet. I've kind of got... Oh hey, I'm doing that weird walking to the side thing again. It's been a while since I've seen that quite so prominently. If I walk upwards, I sort of drift to the right. Huh. Oh good, well that's going to be fun. I'm using an entirely different keyboard and... Oh what? There must be an issue with the game, it must be, because I've changed equipment so many times and it still does it. That's so weird. God damn it, it doesn't do it in any other game either. It's just Spiral Knights. Fix your game, 3 Rings. Weird, weird, weird. Yeah, so I will take designs there if you want, if you've got any ideas that you want, and I've got one in the works which is the... I presume it's not trademarked. The Spiral Knight's energy symbol. Given that it's just a circle with a line through the middle, I'm pretty sure you can't trademark that. That's too simple to be trademarked. There are limits on minimum complexity a design needs to be a trademark of someone. I think, you know, the circle with a line through the middle is probably way too simple. It's like the Triforce, you know. The Triforce is not... Nintendo does not hold the rights to the Triforce symbol, which is why everybody uses it on everything. Because you cannot trademark a triangle. That's just not allowed. I imagine the energy symbol would be very, very similar. So I could probably get away with sticking it on a glass and selling it to you fine folks, if you're interested in purchasing such a thing. So... I may add that to the store in the near future. I will link that in the... I've kind of positioned myself badly here. Yep, that didn't work. I will link that in the description below, and you can go check that out, and you can purchase things from me if you so desire. International shipping is obviously a little steep, unfortunately, but that is such is the nature of international shipping. That's just what I have to deal with when I want to buy anything from America. So yeah, I suppose other international folks would have to deal with that buying from the UK. Sorry, that's just the nature of the world and the cost of getting things around our planet. It's a little unfortunate, but there you go. So I've got at the minute currently Mass Effect designs seem to be by far the most popular thing I've got going on there. I've got like the Paragon and Renegade symbols. They're quite popular. There's also I don't know if anybody's familiar with. There's a mobile game. It's cool augmented reality Google Maps kind of thing called Ingress, which is just territory control on a global scale, if you're not familiar with it. I've got some symbols from that. They seem to be... Well, nobody's bought any of those ones yet, but a lot of people have gone, hey, those are fun, because Etsy has got a really cool feature where if you like a product but don't want to actually commit to buying it, there's a little heart button you can click and you can favorite a design, which it's not from a sales perspective, it's like, well, I'd rather you bought the thing rather than just clicking the I like this button. It's just the equivalent of the Facebook like button, but I'd rather you actually bought the damn thing. But hey, it's actually not a bad way. It's more like it functions very nicely in the same way as clicking the like button on YouTube, for example, if you wanted to say hint hint go and do that, because that helps me out a bunch. I think, actually I don't know if they rank it by likes and stuff on Etsy, but certainly what they do, certainly what it does is it lets me gauge an interest in which products are likely to be popular. Like I say, I've not sold any of the Ingress ones yet, but I've got a bunch of people have clicked like on it, so it's like, oh, clearly people are actually kind of interested in that design. So if I were to go into manufacturing a bunch of those, I got a few of them there. So yeah, go over there, tell me what you think, and if you want to support my channel in a manner that's not just a subscription, if you want some actual physical goodies, it's not really Button Mash merch as it is, because I'm not actually doing it under the Button Mash brand. The store I have named is at Frickin' Lasers. Yes, it's a Dr. Evil reference. Why the hell wouldn't you? When I'm manufacturing things literally with lasers. Not quite sharks with laser beams strapped to their heads, but nonetheless, lasers. Okay, my flame rate is not, ouch, helping me here. It keeps stuttering. Oh god, I'm about to die. Do I have any pills? I have one pill. I also have an emergency revive. I might rely on that a little bit. I'm probably going to rely on that. I'm just going to try not to die. Okay, there's a lot of things there. Let's try not to die around here. Okay. Commentary goes out the window while I try and dodge Jellies. Sorry. There we go. Well, I'm dead. Well, I would use my brief moment of invulnerability to get back up. Is the door open? Yeah, the puppy's spawned, so yes, the door's open. Good, we're free. Let's go do some more Jellies. So let's do some questions! Now that I've told you, now that I've made my shameless sales pitch to you all, let's do some questions. What's the thing we do around here? If you have any questions you wish to submit, send them in the comments below and I'll try and answer them in future episodes. Questions for Series 3, Season 3, whatever you want to call it, depending on which side of the ocean you're on. Series or Season 3 of Spiel will be mostly of a intellectual nature. Probably more scientific than anything else, because that's what I like talking about. And heavily researched on Wikipedia, because I'm sort of vaguely kind of trying to support Wikimedia with this. So if you like what I'm doing, you could also go and make a donation to Wikimedia, because that's awesome. Because they need supporting, because it encourages education around the world, and they're a great cause to support. So go donate, keep Wikipedia's doors open, and spreading the love of information around the world. And teaching people about all sorts of awesome things. Because they are awesome people. This is going to be this continues to be predominantly jelly, I suppose. There's some cats in there. I should probably brought voltage. Nuts. Oh well. Never mind. Too late for that now. I could always shoot them with a Polaris. So questions we have for this week. We have Technokill asks, do you think we'll ever be able to create fully functional lightsabers and use them as practical weaponry? Honestly, probably not. That seems more of a... It's a fairly common sci-fi trope, but I'm not sure there's any real basis for it in reality. I mean, actually, I admit I didn't research this one quite as thoroughly as some other topics, but it seems like the projection of energy or light or something. If you want to call it light, well, light kind of has a beam. You can't really define the end of it. There's a very interesting... I say interesting, more amusing XKCD joke that they did Randall Munro did recently on his webcomic XKCD, if you don't read that, which was just a quick jab at Star Wars. It's like, nice lightsaber you made. Yeah, I see you made. Oh, Darth Vader inspecting Luke's lightsaber. I see you made a new lightsaber. It's like, turns it on, beam just goes forever. It's like, where does it end? It doesn't. Yeah, it's light. It is a lightsaber. Light beams do not end. They keep going until they hit something. So, I don't think we don't quite have technology to make a beam that ends. I don't know if you wanted to go down another route. I mean, I've seen other sci-fi suggest maybe sound waves, like a sonic blade of some sort. Again, not quite sure the practicalities of that. I don't know whether that's particularly viable. It's kind of one of those things that's more I think that's very much in the realms of your soft sci-fi to go back to discussing. I think a lot of this week's going to tie into what I already discussed last week, into the realms of sci-fi. So I think that's very much a soft sci-fi thing. It's like, yeah, it's cool, but we're not going to explain how it works because we can't, because it makes no sense. It has no real world comparisons to make. We've just made stuff up. So I'm not sure that's particularly viable. I will note I did find out that Star Wars did not coin the lightsaber. Actually, I hadn't even picked up on this, but I had read two of the works that actually kind of did predate the lightsaber, which is Larry Niven's Ringworld, which is obviously the concept for things like Halo. Apparently had a very similar kind of thing in it, as well as Isaac Asimov's Foundation, which I incidentally got into discussing briefly. Did I discuss that briefly last week? I just certainly got into it in the comments briefly. So yeah, Foundation's a very good sci-fi novel if you want to read that. That's a great one. Apparently there is a lightsaber type thing in it somewhere, which I totally don't remember. I don't remember that in the slightest, so maybe I have to go back and reread those. Those could be... They're good books, I probably should do that. There's just a lot of them. There are like 7 books in the series. And then it actually ties into all of the other books Isaac Asimov did, which is his Robot series and his Empire series. Yeah, there's... I think ultimately you probably ended up somewhere in the region of like 20 books, all set in the same universe. Which is absolutely crazy! But very cool, very cool. Following on to that, do you think we'll ever be able to create and enter hyperspace as a mode of travel? Well, that kind of ties into last week. So once we get into hyperspace, we're kind of talking FTL, right? Faster than light. And generally speaking, scientists are broadly of the opinion that nothing can go faster than light, except maybe those scientists who recently kind of found neutrinos that they thought might go faster than light. But then there's some other scientists who are like, yeah, we don't think you calibrated your equipment very well, and, you know, we've found a 60 microsecond discrepancy in results. And that's about how much faster than the speed of light you found they could go. So ultimately, when the margin for error is exactly the same as how much faster than the speed of light you think you went, chances are that might actually not have worked out quite as well as you thought it worked out. However, that's just how science and peer review works. I'm sure other people will continue to do those kind of experiments and test things and try and figure stuff out and see if they could be repeatable, but I think perhaps inconclusive on that one. Certainly when it comes to moving anything larger than massless subatomic particles that are really, really difficult to detect. When we come to talking about moving, I don't know, say a spaceship, I think probably needs something slightly different to be able to move that faster than light. And ultimately, as far as actual real-world science goes, it's not something that's even remotely within our grasp, which is why that one very much also falls within the realm of soft science fiction. It's kind of something nobody... A lot of sort of hand-wavy, wishy-washy, techno-babble explanations for it, but nothing that really ties into anything real, as it were. So... certainly within the Star Wars universe, since that is our point of reference which we're going to be dealing with here, I had brought... Oh no, this is a cat level predominantly, isn't it? I totally should have brought the voltage for this one. Oh no, that's going to suck. Oh well. So, yeah. So, in terms of real world stuff, yeah, not gonna work. In Star Wars, it's never really explained. I don't know if, like, expanded universe stuff particularly ever gets into it. I gather Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic talked about it a little bit more than certainly the films ever did. Still never really offered any kind of explanation as to how it works. There's a lot of stuff like, oh, it's wormholes, but wormholes, again, are still a bit... It's like, well, how wormholes, you know? You can't just say wormholes and pretend that's a good enough explanation. That doesn't work. There's the idea that it could bend space, but that's also sort of tied into wormholes in and of itself as well. There's a few different ideas there, but none of them are especially compelling. They're just sort of... science fiction, as it were. Anyone would think it was there to appeal to popular culture rather than actually create some kind of scientific explanation. Who knew? Who knew? So yeah, I don't think Star Wars ever particularly dealt with that one very well. They kind of... In hyperspace in general, if we're going to talk about hyperspace broadly speaking, there's again different. It's a term that's used in a lot of different science fiction works, but all of them are kind of dealt with differently but equally vaguely. I mean, within Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there needs to be a hyperspace bypass for whatever reason. We need to demolish Earth in order to be able to make a hyperspace route through it. I believe within Star Wars, there are, again, defined routes that people need to take within the universe, and it's very difficult to navigate, often requires computers or a Jedi or something to navigate it particularly well. And no new routes tend to be established within that canon, because trying to establish new routes kind of frequently ends up with ending up in the heart of a star or something, where the established routes within Star Wars universe, I believe, have been put in place by an unknown alien species some 15, or is it 50,000? Either 15 or 50,000 years prior. So sometime before the events of the films, some unknown alien race has done all the hard work of installing the routes for hyperspace. But everyone uses the routes. No one really knows why. That's kind of a bit. Actually, that's very Mass Effect. Actually, ooh, yikes! That was a bit of a spike. Yeah, if one thinks about how Mass Effect works, like, oh, we've got all these giant relays in space that allow us to jump between the farthest stars. Yeah, someone put them there a long time ago, I don't know who. So, yeah. Similar kind of concept, to be honest. So kind of a popular concept. That's not actually what I wanted to use, I wanted a pill. I mashed the wrong button there. Yikes. I wish I wasn't using a gun for this level. This is not the most practical weapon to deal with cats that like to move around very fast. God damn you all. So, yeah, there's no reasonable explanation for FTL. I think the most we could possibly hope for, particularly within the plausible and reasonable immediate future of mankind, within the next probably few thousand years, I would say. I don't care what Futurama says. I think within the next few thousand years, the best we could hope for is mildly relativistic speeds. Getting close, but not very close to the speed. Why am I using that on that thing? That makes no sense. Kind of close to the speed of light. So, we might get a few percent of the speed of light if we're, like, really dedicate ourselves, but probably not too much. Have I missed a thing up here? I feel like I missed a thing up here. Did I miss a thing? There was a door. I don't know. It's too late now. I can't go back that way. I can grab that pill and those hearts before they disappear. Come to me. Yoink. Always gotta heal up. So that's the thing. So yeah, both of those are... Star Wars is obviously designed for a mass market. It's not hard sci-fi. It's not there for the hardcore science fiction enthusiast. It's designed to make movies and sell. So again, that's kind of there. But in both cases, they're topics where it's just like, yeah, we're not going to explain this because most people don't care. Most people just like, hey, hyperdrive's cool. Hey, lightsabers are cool. It's not, we're going to explain the intricate science behind how these work, because we don't really know anyway, we just made it up. Because it has no real comparisons. So that's more science fiction. This should just be the science fiction show each week. Let's just make this science fiction. I'm okay with that. Just throw at me science fiction topics. I can work with this. Also got... oh, I can't remember his name. Their name. Alivai, Alivai. How do you feel about the development of fusion energy? Do you have any opinions on the matter? Fusion is an interesting one, which obviously it does have some real-world things going on. Obviously, scientists are trying to develop fusion in a realistic manner. There are a variety of different methods for trying to make fusion happen. Many of them work, but kind of not for very long. I think the issue with a lot of methods of fusion is trying to find one that is firstly exothermic and therefore gives out heat energy and is self-sustaining, I think is the main issue. It needs to be able to continue running by itself. A lot of the issues is that even if you can get the fusion to work, it kind of requires either putting in more energy than you're getting out in order to make it work, or once you start it, you still need to keep putting energy in to keep it going. I think the ultimate quest with fusion is trying to create something that can go by itself. If you think about how nuclear fission works in nuclear reactors and whatnot, man, what's going on with my frame rate today? This is not good. It keeps stuttering like a madman. It doesn't normally do this. Computer must be dying. I need an upgrade. Go buy my merch. Shameless plugs. Yeah. So yeah, fusion. It's tricky business. Very tricky business. With nuclear fission, obviously those reactions kind of do sustain themselves. If you start that going, they can keep going, and you kind of need to put a bit of effort into it, into cooling and putting carbon rods and whatnot in, I think, in order to make that kind of thing actually, you know, stop. One needs to make a concerted effort to stop the reaction, otherwise it just kind of keeps going, keeps making lots of energy, keeps heating the water, turning the turbines, making lots of electric for us. That's how we generate energy within nuclear fusion. It's kind of more difficult to do. We've got thermonuclear, as in the weapons, is the only viable way of actually making it reasonably sustaining and giving out energy, but it's so uncontrollable that it's not a practical energy source, which is, you know, ultimately why it's only really weaponry in that regard. Perhaps if one could find a way to contain a sustainable fusion source, a thermonuclear fusion source, maybe that could work, but as I say, it's the containment that's the issue. When we're talking about some of the most powerful atomic bombs in the world here, and the technology that goes into making those go off, we're talking about basically containing a nuclear blast, some of the biggest nuclear blasts mankind has ever created. Yeah, that's kind of going to be a lot of work there. I suppose the ultimate goal is a term that's been bandied around for many years, which is cold fusion, which is making fusion work and give out energy at low temperatures. Thermonuclear obviously requires really, really high temperatures to ignite. What you really want, an ultimate goal, is to be able to ignite it at relatively low temperatures. Relatively probably being, you know, a few... I don't know how I'm not sure how cold... relatively cold is in nuclear, probably a few 100 degrees C, I don't know. I think that seems cold in nuclear terms. When we're talking about sort of cutting edge technology, when we start talking about thousands or tens of thousands of degrees, that's still not necessarily all that excessive, that's just sort of the norm. What are we doing here? This should be Jellies, right? Let me just double check, because I've stuffed up the last two floors. Yes, blast furnace slimeway. Good. My gear is appropriate. This is good news. So yeah, cold fusion. Basically, think Back to the Future. Think Mr. Fusion, the thing strapped to the top of the DeLorean that provides the energy source in the second movie. That's kind of where you want to be at with it. That was obviously in the year 2015. I guess that wasn't very accurate, but there you go. That was a movie from 30 years ago. Well, 29 at this point, but yeah. So yeah. That's kind of the goal, but we are nowhere near that, really, at this point in time. Obviously, research will continue into that field. People will continue to try and do this. This is one of those... Why is it with this room? Every time I come across this room, I'm like, which way's the loot room? I think loot is this way, maybe? I'm not sure which way I'm supposed to be heading around this level. There's branching paths, and I don't know which way's the right way. Let's go this way. Let's take care of all these jellies. So yes, Back to the Future is the ultimate goal of most of mankind's accomplishments, I feel. And this ties rather neatly into another question I had. Yay! Everything's intricately linked through no actual planning on my part. This works out quite nicely. Which is, Captain Walken asks, opinions on the new hoverboard that's being developed. There have been two alleged new hoverboards in recent history, so I presume you're talking about the Kickstarter one, because about 6 months or so ago there was a video that did the rounds on the internet. The Hoover, H-U-V-R, was supposed to be the new hoverboard of the future, and they got all sorts of celebrities to show up, and they did this fancy video showing people. They even got Christopher Lloyd, the Doc from Back to the Future, to basically ride around on it a bit. They got lots of other celebrities to turn up and say, hey, check out this hoverboard, this is great, oh, it really works, this is amazing, this is fantastic. And that video went a little bit viral, and everyone was like, oh my god, could this be real, could this be real? I have gone the wrong way, by the way, I just saw the party button. And, well, it turned out no, it wasn't real, it was staged, that was faked. people who have made careers out of this. In fact, I've given a shout out to his channel before, and I would recommend going checking it out. Is Captain Disillusion. Captain Disillusion on YouTube. He was the one who I saw, for me, debunked it anyway. I imagine plenty of other people did. He was like, yeah, if you look closely in the background of this shot and this shot and this shot, you can see the shadow of a crane that's holding them all up. So yeah, they were just on cables. It was cleverly done, but they were all just dangling on cables, and you couldn't see the cables very well in the shot. So that was a fake. That was there was a lot of speculation that might be a trailer for, or not so much a trailer, a viral marketing stunt to promote Back to the Future 4. Obviously, like I say, with 2015 coming, we are at the 30th anniversary of the first Back to the Future film, and the year in which the second Back to the Future film was set. Whether a Back to the Future sequel at this point in time would be any good is anybody's guess, but it certainly wouldn't be an inappropriate time to release such a thing. You could quite easily see movie studios going, hey, it's 30 years, which is a nice round number within the films, of a really popular time travel film. So why don't we make a sequel to the movie in the year that the sequel to the first movie is set, if you catch my drift there. That was a really awkward sentence. So you could see how that would work. I don't think it was ever confirmed that that was a viral thing. At least I never saw any confirmation of it. There was a lot of speculation that it was, but I never saw any yay or nay on that score. So it may have been, it may not be, I don't know. Speculate away, keep speculating. In more recent times, there was a Kickstarter for a hoverboard. It was Hendo Hoverboards, it was. And they had a thing that... I don't think anybody's debunked that one yet. I think that one, as far as anyone can make out, is pretty genuine and real. And it was supposed to work using magnets. Matter of fact, I've got their page up at the minute, and I want to go down and find where they said the technology worked, because they did a lot of hand-waving and didn't really explain that either as well, which was really annoying when it's like, when you're talking about hoverboards, I know we're not talking science fiction here, but I still want to know how it works. So from their page, it's levitation using magnets seems simple. Just put one magnet over another, the same poles facing, one and the top one will float. Voila, right? Sadly, as we all find out, this never works. Use something called Earnshaw's theorem. A stable static equilibrium between two magnets is impossible. There have been a number of ways around this, but none have proven feasible enough for everyday applications. Until now. Lenz's law explains how eddy currents are created when magnets are moved relative to a conductive material. These eddy currents in turn create an opposing magnetic field in the conductor. Our core technology, which we call magnetic field architecture, focuses this field more efficiently. And yeah, that doesn't explain anything in the slightest. It's just like, yes, we've harnessed the power of magnets through our proprietary technology that... I mean, I understand one wants to keep one's technology secrets, because, hey, it would be really easy for competition to steal it if they knew how it worked, but at the same time, some kind of explanation other than, yes, we've harnessed magnets where no man has ever been able to harness magnets before, seems like an outlandish claim, I think is probably fair to say. I don't know, I'm skeptical is all. At the same time, they only asked for $250,000, and when we're talking about... We're genuinely talking about cutting-edge scientific breakthroughs here. We're talking about levitation technology. Seems like hiring scientists to do cutting-edge scientific work would probably set you back more than $250,000. They were like, oh yes, we want to hire scientists and engineers to help develop this. And it was like, yeah, this is over the course of 1 year as well. It's like, we want to hire scientists and engineers, etc., 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 for 1 year to help refine and develop and produce this. And I'm like, scientists and engineers, generally speaking, tend to charge a fairly reasonable salary, I would have thought, especially for world-class cutting-edge technology, so it doesn't seem like that's enough money to develop that kind of thing. They raised $400,000 in the end, but still, that's a lot. That's not enough money, I would have said, to work on this kind of technology. This is the sort of thing you'd expect NASA to be working on with millions, if not billions of dollars, not just some independent private company that's come begging on the internet for $250,000. These are not the people you'd expect to be doing groundbreaking, mankind-changing research technology. You'd expect people with ridiculously huge budgets to be doing this. say, I don't know, SpaceX or something. Someone like Elon Musk would throw the money at that kind of project, not just dudes begging on Kickstarter for the funding. I don't know, it just doesn't add up for me. With Kickstarters, I always feel a bit skeptical when people don't ask for enough money to run a project, and this is one of those where it's like, your budget doesn't add up to the scope of your project here. This just doesn't add up for me, to be honest. But I don't know. Maybe I'm overly skeptical about these things. I don't know. It seems potential. I would love to be proven wrong. If nothing else, I would love to see. I would love to see one of these work in the wild by an independent source. Someone going, "Hey, this is pretty cool. Here's my hoverboard. I bought this hoverboard off these guys. Here we go. I'm flying around on it. This is great." I would even more so love to have the opportunity to try one myself. But as long as all I've got is a staged publicity shot from the manufacturers on their Kickstarter page, and there are a bunch of GIFs showing how magnets work, it's like, well, I kinda want a little bit more than that. Thanks. Anyway, it seems as though we have come to an end here. So, let's wrap things up, shall we? So thank you very much for watching. This has been Spiel. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this, to leave a like on it, and leave me some questions below if you've got anything else you want me to talk about, preferably of some sort of scientific, pseudo-intellectual kind of bent. Leave them below. It doesn't even need to be scientific, it just needs to be interesting to talk about, I feel. As long as I've got something interesting to waffle on about for a while. That's cool. So yeah, leave your questions in the comments below, and I will write them all down, and we shall dabble on them in future episodes. But yeah, for now, thank you very much for watching. I have been Meroka. This has been Spiel, and we'll see you next week.